Hello everyone, it's Shanna Makes It, and I'm part of the creative crew for Kat Scrappiness. Now today I'm reintroducing some products to you, and what I've got here is I've got the Oopsie Daisy 6x6 layered stencil. It is a 3-pack, and you can see that each one of these stencils are labeled 1, 2, and 3. On the back of the packaging, it shows you exactly how to layer your stencils and what it'll look like as you layer each of them. We've got 2 florals, and we've got some leaves and stems. And then the stamp set is the Oopsie Daisy layered stamp set, and you have essentially the same components that you have with the stencil set. And so you would layer them up much like you would the stencil set. And on the back of the stamp set, you've got a diagram that shows you exactly how to stamp them and what your end results will look like. So there you have it. And in addition to that, we've got a coordinating die set that goes with the Oopsie Daisy sets. And we're just going to work with, I think we'll start out with a stencil set, and then we'll work with the stamps and the dies. So I've just brought in a piece of white hammer mill that I'm just going to do my stenciling on. And I do have a stencil mat there, but you wouldn't necessarily need one. You could lay it down on your desk and tape it down over your paper, and you could just stencil that way. So I'm going to bring in some of my green mint tape and just tape it down so it doesn't move on me while I'm stenciling. And I'm going to do a couple of different colors in my flowers. Now it shows you like a white daisy on the top flower there, and then like a golden on the bottom one. But I'm going to use a purple and Tuscan color scheme for my flowers. And I'm going to do the purple one up top and the Tuscan colored one down low. I'm just going to bring in my Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink for my top flower. And I'm just going to blend some of that purple wilted violet on there. And before I do that, I've decided I want to mask it off. So I've got my little Kat Scrappiness sticky note here, and I'm just going to lay it over there so that I don't get into that other flower. So I'm just going to take my blending brush and blend in that stenciled area. And then once I've gotten that where I want it, I'm going to just lift my sticky note, and I'm going to cover that purple flower, and I'm going to bring in my yellow. And I think I've got dried marigold here is what I'm using, and I'm just going to use my blending brush and blend that one up, and that'll be the first layer on our flowers. Now I've go ahead and remove this, and then I remember that I failed to do the leaf and the stems, and so I'm going to come back to that. Now I did go ahead and clean it off before I realized what I had done. I actually missed the centerpiece of the one and the stem on the other, and so I'm going to come back to that. I just dried it off, made sure it was good and dry. I'm just double checking, and I'm going to lay it down on there, and then we'll do our stem, our leaf, and then our center. So I'll start out with the leaves, and I've got, I think it's called cracked pistachio, and I'm going to ink that up. And then I'm going to move on to the next one that has the center up there. I was thinking the center was on that other one, but I just needed to get the leaves inked up. Now on this one, I'm going to bring in a little darker color to fill in the kind of like the veins to my leaves. So I've got pine needles there, and I'm just running my brush over to fill in kind of the veins to my leaf. And so I'm moving that little sticky note, and I'm going to do the inside of my bottom one. And I've decided to bring in another sticky note. And I'm going to go a little bit darker here with a little darker tone on this to add some dimension to this flower. And I've decided, because I went so dark with this wilted violet, that I'm going to have to bring in something a little bit darker. So I'm going to grab something real quick, and I'll be right back. So what I've decided is I'm going to use black soot on that purple because it is so dark, and this will give me just a real good shadow on that flower. So I have to use a different blending brush because I use a different one for my black. And I'm just going to kind of ink it up and make sure I've got it held down well. And I'm going to kind of daub and go around there. And you can see I didn't cover up that center that's near there, but I think I ink it up okay, and I don't get any in that spot there. So I probably should have masked it off, but I didn't. But I think it'll come out all right. So I'm just adding more of that black soot to the edges. And then I'm going to grab my mustard seed, and I'm going to just ink it up, and I'll do that center to that right there. And now I think we're ready for our third stencil. So I'll just pull this off, and these clean up really nice with water. I just had my little spray bottle of water, and I just spritzed them and used a paper towel and just cleaned them off. Now here's our third stencil, and we're going to add some interest to that center of the upper flower, and then we're going to add some more dimension to that second flower there at the bottom. So I'm going to bring in my ground espresso, and I'm going to use it for both of them. I'm going to get the little seedy portion of the floral center, and then the bigger portion of the second flower there. And then that will add the dimension to our stenciled panel. So we'll just take a peek at it. It turned out pretty good. I like it. I think it is really pretty. I think I'm going to like the color scheme together, even though it's not really a white daisy. I probably could have inked up some more leaves so that it had some additional leaves, but we're going to stamp, so it'll be okay. So I'm going to pull this aside, and then I'll be bringing out my Misty to do some stamping with the stamps. So I've got my Misty, and I've got my sticky mat inside there, and I've got a piece of paper that I kind of roughly cut to fit in there, and it was a little bit too long, so right now I'm just cutting it down a little bit, and I'm going to bring it back in and fit it in there, and then we'll bring in our stamps. Now this stamp set has never been used, so you do need to condition it, and you can see on the back of there it shows you how to stamp it as well. And I'm just kind of cleaning up and getting organized, getting stuff out of the view. And I'm going to bring in the base layer of my two flowers. Now I grabbed this one, and this is actually the second layer, and I'll realize it as I'm looking at it. So I'll move that aside, and I'm going to get the base layers to the two flowers. And I'm just using the back of my stamp packaging as a reference so that I know what I'm using. And I'm going to get them laid down on there. And I'm just showing you that I'm looking at them. And I think I lay one of them down upside down, yeah, and I had to flip it over because I had it upside down. And it doesn't really matter how you lay them on your paper, just so long as you've got enough room to die cut it, if that's what you want to do. Now, if you were just bringing in a card base, you could stamp directly on it, but I'm choosing to die cut them all out because I'm going to coordinate both my stenciled daisies and my stamped daisies together on a single card is what I plan to do. And I decided to move the leaves up there because I thought I could flip my panel and create some more leaves because I definitely need some more leaves for my arrangement. Got a little bubble behind that, so I'm just getting it laid down on there flat, and I'm trying to condition them a little bit. I probably should have conditioned them a little bit more than what I did. So I'm going to bring in that wilted violet, and then I'll bring in my golden color. I can't think of what it is right at the moment. And then I'll bring in my cracked pistachio for my leaves, and we'll get these stamped down. Just doing a little cleanup there on my Misty. And I realized I didn't need the veiny part of my leaf there. I was going to bring in it later when I stamp it. So I just laid it off to the side, and I went ahead and stamped the other elements that I wanted to get. And there we go. So we've got them all stamped up. It did take a couple of stampings because it was a new stamp. And so I'm just going to clean them off, and I have water, and I've got just a little towel that I use in my craft room. And I'm just wiping them all down. And I'm going to bring in the next layer of actually first I'm going to actually stamp another leaf because I know that I'm going to want more leaves than what I have. And this will give me, along with the stenciled, this will give me 3 leaves and 3 stems. Ultimately, I'll wind up not using the stems, but I did stamp them out not knowing that I wasn't going to use them. And I'm going to give them 2 inkings as well, and then that'll take care of that. And we'll clean those up, and we'll get those out of the way. And then I'm going to turn my paper back around because I'm going to begin with my next layers. And so I'm just going to put it in that position and just get them layered up. Now, if you look at the stamp, the back of the stamp, it will show you how to layer them up. And I'm just trying to get them lined up and look at them, how they go. I'm kind of at a weird angle to see it. That's why I keep leaning in, trying to see. When you're recording, you can't always get your head directly over your stamp to get it lined up, so it's taken me a little bit longer than it will probably take you. And I'm going to get that one layered up, and then we'll move on to the second one. And we'll get it layered up. Now, you wouldn't necessarily need to use the MISTI for the leaves and the stems. You could probably just use an acrylic block and stamp. In fact, you could use an acrylic block for all of these if you wanted to, because they line up well enough. But you wouldn't necessarily have to have the MISTI. The MISTI is a big help, but you wouldn't necessarily have to have it. So I'm going to get those picked up, and I'm going to bring in my accent colors, and we'll just add some dimension to our flowers, much like we did our stencils. And I am doing the colors at the same time. I know a lot of times people will lay just one color down and then lift their MISTI and then do the other one, but I'm going to do them both. This one seems to have a little bit of a bubble or something in it, the way I laid it down, so I'm just checking it. And then I figure out my ink pad's a little bit wonky and I'm having trouble with it. So we'll get these stamped down and see how they turn out. Give it a good press and check it. Push with my fingers where I think I need a little bit more. And there we have it. We've got our second layer. So I'm just going to clean this up, and we'll get this floral stamp laid aside. And then I'm going to bring in the veining for the leaves, and I'll get it laid down on there, as well as the center for the purple flower. We'll bring it in and lay it down. Now, sometimes when you are trying to set some of these small ones down and they're new, they want to stick to your finger, your fingernails, whatever, and you can use an eraser on a pencil to move it around and it won't stick to it. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going to get the center to this one. I'm going to get it laid down as well. And I'm going to need to do the same thing, bring in my pencil and just kind of maneuver it around where I want it, and then I'll be able to stamp it down. And there are, looks like 2 different centers for that. And I'm just checking to make sure that I've got it laid down right. And I'm going to grab the extra detail for this bottom flower and get it laid down on there as well. And we'll get these stamped up. And this will be, I think, our 3rd and final layer for our stamped florals. So we'll just get them inked up and we'll get them stamped down, and then we'll be, I think, finished stamping. Okay, so we've got those inked up. We'll just push down, and we'll have the flowers, that layer of the flowers done. And I'm going to, actually, I need to do the center of that purple one, but I'm going to flip this around real quick because I've got my leaf veining laying on there, and I'm going to get that veining added to that leaf there, and that'll take care of that. And it did do a little stamping because I left those stamps on there, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to die cut them out. So I'm going to bring in my dies. I'm going to get them lined up on the stenciled one, and I've got to cut them apart because they're brand new, and I've just got these little snips here that I took out of my husband's toolbox, and I'm using it for that. And I'm just quickly snipping them off. Now you will probably want to snip all of that rough edge off so that you don't cut yourself with it. I'm going to roughly cut them out and just use them, and then I'll clean them up a bit later. So we'll do that, and we'll get them all laid down on here, and we'll go to our die cutting machine, and we will get our images cut out, and then we'll come back and make our card. Okay, so I've got everything die cut out, laying in a little pile there, and I've chosen a couple of pieces of pattern paper from Kat Scrappiness. I've got the Crafty Quokka, and I've got the faux glitter paper, and I'm going to use 2 sheets. I'm bringing in my Score Buddy, and I'm doing a top folding A2 size card, and I'm just going to get it lined up there in my corner and press it down, and then we'll add our pattern paper to it. Now I'm going to lay this purple faux glitter down first. I'm just bringing back in the colors that I've used for my flowers. I'm just kind of keeping a pretty simple color scheme, and I'm just layering these same 2 colors upon colors here. And then I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to lay it on here kind of wonky, and I'm going to glue it down, and then I'll trim off whatever's hanging over the edge. And you can see our little crafting quokkas on the back of that. Just going to get this laid down on here. And then we'll flip it over, and we're just going to trim off the overhang, and it'll make an interesting little pattern to the front of our card. And we'll be able to showcase 2 pieces of pattern paper. Now I've got that little corner there, and I thought that'll be perfect to fit on the inside of my card base. So I just grabbed it real quick, and it had some glue on it, and I'm just cleaning it off, and then I'll get it glued down. So it had glue on it when I glued up my panel. So now I've got my 4 flowers here, 2 in the Tuscan color and then 2 in the purple color. And I'm just going to figure out how I want to lay them on here. And I'm just going to glue some of them down and pop some of them up just to get the dimension and the layering that I want on them. So one of the Tuscan and one of the purple is going to get glued straight down, and the other 2 are going to get popped up. And that'll give us some room to be able to tuck in our leaves around our floral element. And so we'll just layer them up. Bring in some more foam tape. And I've just got some foam squares there that I'm laying down. And we'll just get them popped up. And then I can just tuck in and glue our leaves down wherever that I want them. And I like how this is coming together. Once I chose the pattern paper, I knew that I was going to like how the card was coming out, just to kind of bring those colors back in. Now I'm just going to tuck a leaf up top, and then 1 on each side, and then that will pretty much take care of our floral element. I'm struggling with that glue press, and I'm just going to poke it and see if I can get the glue flowing again. And then of course I get a bunch at once, so I'm just going to touch these 2 together and spread that glue around, and then stick my leaves down, and I think that's a beautiful floral scene there. And now I'm thinking I need a sentiment, so I'm going to go grab a sentiment, and I'll be right back. I've decided to go with a Have Faith sentiment from Kat Scrappiness, and I'm not going to use the shadow, I'm just going to use the words, and I'm using that faux glitter purple that I had a piece of scrap from where I cut it off, and I ran to my die cutting machine real quick and die cut it out, and we're going to get it laid down on our card. I've used this Have Faith sentiment several times, and I really like it. So you can see it cut out, and I use the magic mat, and I've just got it laid down on there. And what I'm going to do, this is a trick I do frequently. I think I've even shown you this on the channel maybe a couple times before. I'm just taking a piece of my pink pixie tape and pressing it down on my sentiment, and then picking it up. I'm going to grab my tool from Kat Scrappiness and pull the centers of the A and the E and the A out, and just get them out of the way. And now I'm ready to just bring in my glue bottle, and I can just glue the back of that down, and this keeps it in perfect alignment so that it will lay down nicely on your card. That's why I'm choosing to use this tape, just so that when I lay it down, it'll be aligned perfectly. And I've got my small glue bottle because I'm just trying to get little dabs of glue, and I'm wiping off a blob there. And we'll just glue this down, and then we'll be able to lay it down on our card base and press down real well, and then we can peel that tape off, and we've got a perfectly positioned sentiment in doing it this way. Sometimes I struggle getting things straight, so I try to use all of the techniques I can to get my sentiment laid down on there right. So I'm just pressing that pink pixie tape down, and it's a low tack tape, so you can release it. I'm trying to give my glue just a minute to adhere, so I'm going to put my glue away and kind of clean things up. And then I'm just going to begin pilling, and I'm just kind of rolling away very slowly and carefully. And you'll see that the dot to my eye stays on there, and I don't have any problem laying down this sentiment. And that'll finish off our card. I really like it. I hope you do too. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.